This program is brought to you by the Genesis Communications Network, a world leader in talk radio since 1998. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Broadcasting and streaming live all across America. This is HomeTalkUSA with Michael King, where we will discuss topics pertaining to your home with industry-leading experts. Michael King is a licensed general contractor with more than 30 years of experience in home improvements and the author of Contracting with the King. Join us this hour for our segment InventAmerica with your co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton. Discover what's next in the home improvement industry and explore new products and innovations. Or if you have that next great big idea, learn what it takes to bring your invention to the world as Michael King and Rita Crompton talk to America's inventors and innovators. Remember, the America of tomorrow is being invented today. We invite you to visit us at HomeTalkUSA.com, one of the best resources for home improvement information around today. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HomeTalkUSA.com. And now, we proudly present Invent America from the #1 home improvement radio program in the country, Home Talk USA, with your host, the Cajun contractor, Michael King, and his co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton.
You know, when Michael does that, when we hear the music play, I always want to get up and dance around my chair and then go out and have lunch. So our friend Michael could not be with us today. There was a death in the family, so please send your prayers his direction. And we are talking today about manufacturing in America versus China. Hot topic. A lot of Americans, just really struggle with it, but we're going to help, give some parameters today. And my guest today is Michael Miller, who is an expert in all of this. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Rita. I appreciate it.
And so, one of the things we want to talk about is that you don't always get to choose where you're going to manufacture. Sometimes pricing is the determining factor.
Well, that's very true. I mean, pricing is really the driver for a lot of this. I think one of the areas, well, actually, there's a number of areas that people have confusion on that, though, is that, yes, you can generally get a much better manufacturing cost in China, but in many cases, that comes with a lot of detriments to it as well. And so you really need to balance out what you're getting when you manufacture in the U.S. compared to what you're getting when you manufacture over in China. And I'd be happy to go over some of those issues.
Give us an example. Give us an example of what people need to be paying attention to.
Sure. An example would be something like tariffs. A lot of times that is not included whenever you go and get your costing from China. So you have to include tariffs into that. You also have a number of things like the printing of the packaging that you have to have. It's very specific, those barcodes that are on that packaging. If those are not perfect, your product will be rejected by your customers. So when you're selling to Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, if that barcode is not correct, they're not taking your product. And that's not an unusual occurrence. The other thing can be print quality on your packaging. If it's not the right color scheme that you've given your customers that, hey, this is the way my packaging is going to be, this is the colors, and then they get the first samples and those colors are not correct. Those are very difficult things to try to change in talking back and forth to China, whereas it's so much easier just to go to a U.S. manufacturer, fly there, drive there, and watch all this stuff real time to make sure that it's being done correctly.
Well, and I've seen more of the manufacturing come back to the U.S. post-pandemic, which has been great. Some inventors say, well, I want to manufacture in the U.S., but they can't. And so some of that really comes down to pricing. Consumer is God when it comes to pricing. If the average hammer is going to be $12, you need to be in that ballpark. So for some inventors, it's really about making good business decisions.
It is. And sometimes if you want your manufacturing to be in the U.S., you just need to take a little less margin to be able to do that. And just consider that less amount of margin that you're getting on your product as really being almost an insurance that you're paying to get better quality product, to be able to manage your manufacturer, those types of things. All it takes is one container falling off of a ship, which happens tens of thousands of times a year, for your entire inventory to go to the bottom of the ocean. And so those are things that you really need to take into consideration.
Yes. One of the things that an inventor, a story he had shared, he wanted, the parts were being made in China. And it's like, all right, well, these elements I need to use. So he would order them. And he actually then went and set up manufacturing in California because the defect rate was so high that now whatever margins he was getting were being eaten up by the poor quality of the product. So he actually broke even by manufacturing at a higher rate, but his default rate went down drastically.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the other thing, too, it's for a lot of inventors that have a single product, you in general don't deal directly with the actual manufacturer who's actually manufacturing your product. It's usually done through a broker that then goes and has your product manufactured by the actual manufacturing facility. And in many cases, it's farmed out to 2 and 3 different facilities who you do not even know where they're at. What that also means is that whenever you're paying for the molds to have your product made, then you don't own those molds. And if you decide to move to go have somebody else make it, now you got to get a whole other set of molds made, and things can become quite expensive very quickly.
Yes, absolutely. So the difference between manufacturing in America versus China or any other country, and we always talk about China, but there are certainly other options out there, but the issues tend to be the same. It is pricing, it is quality, it is risk. And so when the inventor sits down and says, all right, I want to do this here, it's in their best interest to compare all of them to then be able to compare pricing with the risk and the benefits.
Absolutely, because it's not apples and apples whenever you go to compare between China and manufacturing in the U.S. So you do need to take a lot of these other things into consideration that you didn't think you would have to. There are these outlier things that can cost you a lot of money, and so you really have to take all of these different things into consideration whenever you're doing that balance sheet.
Yeah. I had a gentleman years ago, he wanted to manufacture a new toilet, and he was just absolutely adamant that he had to do it in China. And so eventually I said, you do realize that all the porcelain comes out of Mexico. Why are you not manufacturing in Mexico? And he goes, okay, well, I didn't even know that. It's like, you'd think you would have asked where they're shipping that porcelain from. And then you would have gone there to say, let's get a comparison bid on this.
Absolutely. The other thing to consider, too, with U.S. manufacturing is in many cases they'll hold your inventory for you and maybe even provide shipping services to ship your product to your various customers. And whereas you would have to set up that completely separate and independently, bringing in your containers from China, now they have to go to a storage facility. Now you have to do your fulfillment from another location.
Right. Well, we've got 2 inventors on. One did manufacture in China, and there was no way around it. The other gentleman manufactures here in the U.S., and he is pleased as punch to be able to manufacture in the U.S. So we are going to have the 2 of them on, and then we will get you back on to tie up the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll be talking to you in a few more minutes.
Okie dokie.
to Home Talk USA with Michael King. Do you have questions about your next home improvement project or home repairs? Now you can chat with verified home repair and home improvement experts in just minutes. Get the help you need by visiting HomeTalkUSA.com. One of the best resources for home improvement information around today. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HomeTalkUSA.com. And now, back to InventAmerica from the #1 home improvement radio program in the country. Home Talk USA with your host, the Cajun contractor Michael King, and his co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton.
Hi, everybody. This is Rita Crompton, and I want to make sure you have our websites, HomeTalkUSA.com, InventAmerica, and when you want to watch some good TV, go to HomeTalkTV.com. Our great thanks to GCN Network. And our next guest is Dave Fegel, also nicknamed The Genius. And Dave is 79. He was on one of those destroyers in the Pacific Fleet back in the 60s. So, I think you're just a genius that you're still alive. So thank you so much for being with us and being an inventor and winning last year at the National Hardware Show, the Retailer's Choice Award. Hi, Dave. All right. So we're talking today about manufacturing in the U.S., and you are one of the lucky ones that gets to manufacture here in the U.S. But for most inventors, the issue is the price point. How did you deal with making sure that you were price competitive and then being able to get that good manufacturing?
Well, the thing is that the two big things that you're faced with in any manufacturing is the cost of your labor and the cost of transportation. And in the past, I've been associated with some recreational items in the bow hunting industry where I was told that the only way I could compete was to have it manufactured overseas because of the cost of materials and so on. Fortunately, with the product that we have now, we have a local source. It's a gentleman that owns this company, has been in the injection molding business for over 20 years. He's close by, so our transportation cost is cut to almost nil. And then the manufacturing process itself lends itself to less cost per part as long as you don't have the transportation and the labor figured in. So we were able to take advantage of both of those things. And we worked hand in hand with him as far as the development, the packaging, and all the things. And then we were fortunate enough to tie into this gal that seems to be pretty well established, the Inventor Lady, to help us direct us on some of the marketing and so on as to where we want to go with this thing. So,
oh, thank you, Dave. What are the parts that you have to do yourself as far as getting your product ready to slide onto a store shelf?
Well, that's a very good question. One of the things that I found out is that an inventor kind of looks at his invention as his baby and doesn't take easily to changes in his baby. And sometimes that's a detriment because not all the ideas are perfect. And so that was a little bit of an adjustment to me, but in the process of it, I was working hand in hand with the guy that was doing the manufacturing, and we had a couple of prototype dies that we had to change just because of some of the things that I wanted to do that were not easy to get done, and it wasn't cost effective. And so that's where it ended up, and he gave me directions for packaging. And what we tried to do was present a product in a package that a retailer could put on the shelf and not take up shelf space, but you have a nice display and a good product. So I tried to be involved in as much of it as I could and work within the parameters the manufacturer put out and hold down the costs on the manufacturing. So that's where that came in.
Well, and that's, there's some things an inventor can do. I want you to know that my mother used your clean pan solutions on can of stain. And when she went back and had to open it up, the can was in perfect condition. She was so excited. She called me right away, and she said, "Oh, my God, this thing was so cool." So, anybody and everybody can use it if you're using a gallon of paint. And it does. It will keep the paint in good condition for years. It keeps the can clean. All right, I'm giving you a commercial. Your website is cleancansolutions.com. And anybody and everybody can go and buy these. Do they come 1 to a pack or 3 to a pack, Dave?
Well, we've got them both, but again, we're back at the transportation thing. By the way, it's at WeSavePaint.com.
WeSavePaint.com. There you go. Thank you very much.
And we've got the videos available there. But the thing is, the shipping is the biggest thing. And currently, we're using an Amazon store, and I have no desire to go around a circuit and sell to independent and even chain hardware stores. So that's why I'm working with you. But as far as getting distribution out, Amazon has been pretty helpful for us, and we have a store there, and we can ship around the country for a lot more reasonably than I thought. However, the cost for shipping a single one is just about the same as shipping 3. So as long as the package can hold 3, we're going to get as much bang for the buck as we can out of the shipping cost. That's, again, one of the big things when you're centrally located and you're shipping around the country that factors into it.
Well, and I don't know anybody that has just one can of paint.
That's true. That's true.
Everybody's got more. So, for the inventors out there that are teeing up a product, join us at the National Hardware Show. It is coming up for 2024, the last week in March. If you've got questions about inventing, join us at the Inventors Roundtable meeting. They come around twice a month. We've got one coming up on Monday. And if you need an attorney, call me. I know really good registered patent attorneys, and I am more than happy to help you out. So as we're getting started and we're moving into the next kind of phase of things for Dave, it's really being able to get more coverage for you and into some of these smaller chains like a Menards.
Yeah, that's the big thing. And there's always, with this type of manufacturing, the big catch is the tooling. So that's something to keep in mind.
Excellent. It certainly is. So we're going to talk about that on another show, Dave. We will get you back here. Everybody, thank you for joining us, and let's go pay some bills.
Thank you, Rita.
HomeTalkUSA with Michael King. Do you have questions about your next home improvement project or home repairs? Now you can chat with verified home repair and home improvement experts in just minutes. Get the help you need by visiting HomeTalkUSA.com. One of the best resources for home improvement information around today. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HomeTalkUSA.com. And now, back to InventAmerica from the #1 home improvement radio program in the country, Home Talk USA, with your host, the Cajun contractor Michael King, and his co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton.
Hey, everybody, this is Rita. If you are an aspiring inventor or you know someone who is, you can go to my website, inventorlady.com, and download the Inventor's Galaxy Guide. It's free. Takes about 30 minutes, kind of walks you through the steps. You can get a search done, so then you know whether or not you've really got something to work with. And if you need a registered patent attorney, call me. My phone number is everywhere, or shoot me an email, Rita@InventorLady.com. And if you've got a product, go to the National Hardware Show with us. It's coming up. My next guest is Pam Fivgas. I have known Pam for 15 years now. Pam has been to the National Hardware Show with us. We did do your search. One of our attorneys did the patent. So, yay. Pam, I remember the early conversation that we had about where you wanted to manufacture when you started this. What happened?
Well, most people like to buy their products in America, and I assumed that that's where we were going to manufacture. And when we went to find price points, I was shocked at how expensive it was. And luckily, Eckerd had contacts in China, and it was unbelievably cheaper to manufacture in China.
Well, you've got a flagpole. It's called HangEm Straight, and it allows someone to hang a decorative flag straight down. Very cool.
Right.
I mean, you pay all this money for a cute flag that's got flowers on it or little animals on it, or a picture of your grandkids, and it hangs at an angle and nobody can see it. HangEm Straight lets you hang them straight, right?
Exactly.
So when you go, it's like, all right, well, we have to look at the multiple of 5. All right, that means if it's, most flagpoles are right around the $10 range. So if you're looking now at, a flagpole that, you've got to say multiple of 5, that means you've got to be able to make it, package it, ship it, and everything for 2. And a lot of times that formula is a killer when it comes to manufacturing, because when you got your first set of pricing, the cost to have the flagpoles made and dumped on your driveway was like $175 per pole.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it.
I know. I like a flagpole, but I'm not going to pay $500 for a flagpole. I'm sorry.
I don't blame you.
And that wasn't even boxed. So, then we get a hold of Eckerd, who does the contract manufacturing, and your flagpole came back in a beautiful box.
Oh, it did.
Hang them straight. Oh, it was a gorgeous picture, and it was $6.75.
Yeah. It the packaging was beautiful. The flagpole was wrapped. There was a little package that had all the hardware in it, instructions. I mean, it was totally professional, and and it was all included.
It was, and the big kicker was they were shipping the aluminum from the U.S. to China to manufacture it.
Unbelievable.
It was crazy. And, while we've seen some manufacturing come back to the U.S., there are times when the price point is what you've got to be so careful of.
So true.
Because,
when you're first starting,
when it comes to pricing.
Yeah, when you're first starting out, you don't have a lot of money anyway. And so, I would never have been able to come this far had I had to have manufactured here.
Yeah, that's because nobody was going to pay that kind of money for a flagpole. I'm sorry. Everybody's got their limits. So what advice do you have for our listeners today?
Well, as far as manufacturing?
Sure. What you learned through the years of being able to do this.
Oh, well, the patent you have to do, the contacts you have to make, the lawyers, there are many steps that you have to go through, but once you're all through there and everything is all taken care of, now you have to sell it. And that's one of the hardest things for me to continue on, keeping up that your contacts and things to continue to sell.
Yeah, I think a lot of inventors miss the idea. It's like, we always used to laugh and say, the inventor's business plan was have idea, get patent, make money. And that last part of the selling to make money can just be so difficult. And for inventors, your trips to the bank or to take money out, we've heard so many stories about that. It's tough. Marketing and selling is tough.
Right. And you think once it starts to sell and take off that it's going to continue, and you have these kind of ebbs and flows and things. And so, you have to continue to work on that all the time.
You do. I know we take the flagpole with us to the National Hardware Show sometimes and use some of those decorator flags, and everybody's like, oh, that's so cool, and I love the way it hangs straight and stuff. But it's tough then to find the next outlet for it. It really is. Marketing is hard. Yes, it is.
Marketing is hard.
Marketing is hard. So you've still got inventory. You are looking to sell, the flagpole. So where do people go to find you?
You can go to HangEmStraight.com, or you can, that's the best place.
That's going to be the best place, but you could also go to InventorLady.com because we've still got your flagpole listed there and links right to your website. So if you're out there and you've got a flag that you want to see hanging straight down so you can see the entire beautiful design, HangEm Straight Flag Pole is the flagpole for you. And
it certainly is.
Get out there and get one. It's summertime, and that's when we hang our flags out there for everyone to enjoy.
That's right.
So, Pam, thank you so much.
Too.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will get your flagpole link out there to everyone, and we'll do some video with you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So again, everybody out there who is an aspiring inventor, remember that inventors have a big place in the American economy. Join us at HomeTalkUSA, InventAmerica.info. All right, and thank you to our Genesis Communication Network. If you need an attorney or you have questions for me, I am easy to find. Rita at InventorLady.com. Join us next week.
Welcome back to Home Talk USA with Michael King. Do you have questions about your next home improvement project or home repairs? Now you can chat with verified home repair and home improvement experts in just minutes. Get the help you need by visiting HomeTalkUSA.com. One of the best resources for home improvement information around today. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HomeTalkUSA.com. And now, back to InventAmerica from the #1 home improvement radio program in the country. Home Talk USA with your host, the Cajun contractor Michael King, and his co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton.
Hi, everybody. Today we are talking about manufacturing in the U.S. versus China or anywhere else, and it is a big issue for our inventors, determining what's best and where are they going to end up with the best financial outcomes. So Michael was on with me, Michael Miller, not Michael King. We've got lots of mics related to this show, and I try not to drop them. So, Michael, all right, what advice do you have for our listeners today and for all of those inventors out there who are, getting to that point now of pulling the trigger on manufacturing?
Absolutely. I think probably the best piece of advice is that you need to really, as with everything that you do with inventing, it's research. And you have to go to the trade shows, and really at the trade shows you can meet a lot of the manufacturers that would manufacture products that would be like yours. You can even talk to the companies that currently are in that space. So if it's a plumbing product, talk to a plumbing product company. If it's a tool, talk to tools companies. Find out what they're doing and how they do it. You'd be surprised how much information they'd be willing to share with you on that. And that can be really, really helpful and save you a lot of time and effort and money as well.
Absolutely. I know you were with us and worked out of our booth last year at the National Hardware Show. You were a wonderful asset to everyone because you answered a lot of those questions for our inventors. You would be happy to know that the Illumiladder guy, he went out and he got that insurance, so he's manufacturing and taking orders.
Awesome. That is really great.
So we are getting
fantastic product.
It is, and I actually think he's going to become one of the sponsors on the radio show so that we can start pushing his product out there.
Oh, that'll be excellent. That'll be excellent.
So, beautiful product. And we want to make sure that you are invited to join us again at the National Hardware Show.
Well, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. And I'm certainly looking forward to the show.
It's a great show for inventors to gather information, and a lot of times we look at that as kind of a reconnaissance mission, being able to, gather, what kind of packaging does a reseller want? What kind of price points are they looking for? So when an inventor is able to go and gather that information and show their product, it can be really invaluable.
Absolutely. I mean, just like you were just talking about, the inventor of the ladder product got to the show, and just like every other product that's in the marketplace, there's regulatory that's part of that product, either in regulatory of the product itself, or in this particular case, there's a certain insurance policy that you have to have before that product can ever be sold in retail. And so, that's just invaluable information, and you really need to get that from the companies and people that attend those shows are more than willing to share that type of information with you.
Right, and that's, the professional shows is where people go to share information, to gather information, and to look at the new products, give their input. And we've had inventors go and be showing an early-stage prototype, and somebody walks up and say, well, did you think about maybe adding this? And they're going, well, that makes perfect sense. And so the next thing they're doing is redoing their intellectual property to include that improvement. But you find that at those professional shows.
You absolutely do. And in many cases, like myself, where I'm looking at literally hundreds of products a week, you go and you look at these products and go, oh, that one little piece that you have here on your product, that's patented, right? And yeah. I hope you have a license agreement with that person. But in some cases, it's a very small change to not have that. And, so it's really that type of information that you can gather at these shows.
Exactly. And we know that there are millions of inventors out there that have not taken the first step, or they may be, building prototypes in their garage with, Legos and Play-Doh and whatever else they can find. And our job is to help give them the right answers, give them the right pathway so that they can take the next step safely and get their product then into the marketplace.
Absolutely. Safely and with the fewest dollars spent as possible. You want that money to go towards the product itself and marketing and possibly, reaching out to companies and doing license agreements, those types of things.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's really important.
I get so many inventors that, have told me, it's like, oh my God, I wish I had known you 5 years ago. And I wish you'd put out that Inventor's Galaxy Guide, last six months ago. It's been there for years. You just didn't know where to go look. So everyone, inventorlady.com, go out there and take a look. All the information is there, and so are the links to our show. Thank you, Michael, very much.
Thank you. No problem, Rita. You have a great week.
You too.
Welcome back to Home Talk USA with Michael King. Do you have questions about your next home improvement project or home repairs? Now you can chat with verified home repair and home improvement experts in just minutes. Get the help you need by visiting HomeTalkUSA.com, one of the best resources for home improvement information around today. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HomeTalkUSA.com. And now, back to InventAmerica from the #1 home improvement radio program in the country. Home Talk USA with your host, the Cajun contractor Michael King, and his co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton.
Hi, everybody. Join us next week when we talk about the other types of intellectual property that are out there, like music. You know, when you're building a website and you go and you get pictures. Jay Skinner is going to be the special guest next week, and we're going to talk to some other inventors that have to go out and find some of that other intellectual property and the best way to do it and to use it. So we want to thank all of you for being here with us today. You can go to Home Talk USA. We are streaming on 8 different platforms in InventAmerica.info. And if you have a question, you need non-disclosure, non-compete forms, you need the search quest forms, anything at all, give me an email, give me a call. I get people all the time that say, why are you answering the phone? It's because it's ringing and you're calling me. So I do answer my phone. It is my direct line. They will put that phone number on the side of my casket when I pass away, because I am taking it with me. Anyway, everybody, you have a great rest of the weekend, and join us next week when we talk about other types of intellectual property. Thank you, everybody.
Home Talk USA with Michael King is produced by Home Talk Media in association with King's Broadcasting Network and Genesis Communications Network. Broadcast and streamed live from the great state of Louisiana. Host and producer, the Cajun contractor, Michael King. Executive producer, Michael Mellinson. Affiliate and sponsor relations, Joe Spera. Comptroller, Sheila Gregoire. Assistant producer, Christian Bethencourt. Board operators provided by Genesis Communications Network. And I'm your announcer, Kevin McCarthy. Music includes King's Creole by Prolific Arts, Cajun Jam by StockMusic.com, and Zydeco City by Steve Rice. Home Talk USA with Michael King is sponsored by Bonide, pest solutions for your home, garden, and lawn. Decorators, take outdoor living beyond ordinary. Aztec Washer, innovative roofing solutions. Seal it right, seal it tight. Trimislab, replace rotten or missing wood with Trimislab expansion joint repair. Masonry Cosmetics, change the color of any porous masonry with proven masonry staining. Green Products Company, #1 in wood preservatives. Preserve, protect, and clean what you value, and most of all, make it last. Bond Products, manufacturers of InstaBind, the world's first do-it-yourself carpet binding solution. Deckrite, life is tough. Make your exterior flooring tougher. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Home Talk USA with Michael King. Until next time, visit us at HomeTalkUSA.com. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HomeTalkUSA.com.
Yay!